The confidence code opens by exploring the idea that confidence is the critical factor that separates successful women from those who hold back. Katty K and Claire Shipman note that talent, hard work, and intelligence are important, but without confidence, women often fail to fully use their abilities or pursue opportunities boldly. This lack of self-assurance, the authors argue, contributes significantly to the gender gap in leadership and professional achievement. The introduction sets the stage by defining confidence as a mix of belief in one's ability to succeed and the willingness to take risks despite uncertainty or fear. The authors emphasize that confidence is not the same as competence or arrogance. It's about showing up, speaking up, and trying, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. The book aims to uncover the science behind confidence, including genetic and hormonal influences, the psychological and cultural barriers that often inhibit women's confidence, practical advice on how women can develop and cultivate confidence in their lives. From the start, Kay and Shipman highlight that confidence is both nature and nurture, a skill that can be learned and strengthened, rather than an innate trait fixed at birth. The goal is to empower women with the knowledge and tools to unlock their potential and overcome societal and internal obstacles that hold them back. Chapter 1. It's not enough to be good. In the opening chapter of The Confidence Code, Katty K and Claire Shipman explore a powerful and often overlooked truth: being good, being competent, smart, diligent, and prepared is not enough. Especially for women in professional environments, competence alone doesn't guarantee success or recognition. Confidence is the missing link that separates those who succeed from those who stagnate. The authors begin by unraveling this foundational idea, arguing that while women often outperform men in academic and professional settings, they fall behind in career advancement because they underestimate their own abilities and hesitate to promote themselves. Kay and Shipman draw on real-world examples and personal interviews to bring this disparity to life. One striking observation is how men and women approach new opportunities differently. When a man sees a job description and meets only 60% of the qualifications, he typically applies anyway, assuming he can grow into the role. A woman, by contrast, might hold back until she meets 100% of the listed qualifications, if not more. This tendency reveals how many women equate being ready with being perfect. But perfectionism is the enemy of confidence. It leads to procrastination, over-preparation, and missed opportunities. The authors also examine the role of early social conditioning. From a young age, girls are often praised for being quiet, neat, and well-behaved, while boys are encouraged to be bold, assertive, and adventurous, even if it means being a little messy or disruptive. Over time, this nurtures a mindset in girls that values correctness and caution over risk-taking and assertiveness. As adults, these ingrained tendencies manifest in the workplace as a reluctance to speak up in meetings, negotiate salaries, or ask for promotions, all actions rooted in confidence. Through interviews with high-achieving women, from CEOs to politicians to athletes, the authors highlight a common theme: even the most successful women often struggle with self-doubt. These women may appear outwardly confident, but inside they wrestle with the fear of being exposed as frauds, a phenomenon known as imposter syndrome. This internal conflict can make it hard for women to own their success, even when they have the credentials and experience to back it up. One anecdote that stands out is from Kay herself, who recalls preparing for a live television segment. She spent hours researching and scripting the perfect responses, only to find that a male colleague had done little prep but spoke with ease and authority. His confidence won over the audience, not because he knew more, but because he believed in his ability to speak well. That experience underscored for Kay a core lesson: confidence, not just content, is what makes the difference. Another core idea explored in this chapter is the feedback loop between action and confidence. The authors emphasize that confidence isn't something you either have or don't have, it's a skill that can be developed. Taking action, even small steps, builds confidence. When women wait to feel 100% sure before acting, they actually sabotage their own growth. Action breeds confidence, which then empowers further action. In this way, confidence becomes a cycle of positive reinforcement. The chapter closes with a challenge to the listener to recognize that striving to be the good girl or the perfect worker isn't always the best strategy. In fact, it can be a limiting one. Competence matters, yes, but in isolation, it's not enough. Confidence is what propels individuals to share their ideas, take on leadership roles, and pursue higher goals. Kay and Shipman make a compelling case that to truly succeed, women must move beyond the myth of meritocracy. Success in the real world often goes to those who raise their hand, take risks, and speak with conviction, not just those who do the best work. The key takeaway? Believe in your ability, act on that belief, and don't let fear of imperfection hold you back. Confidence, not perfection, is the real game changer. Chapter 2: Do More, Think Less. In Chapter 2 of the Confidence Code, titled Do More, Think Less, Katty Kay and Claire Shipman dig deeper into the mechanisms of confidence and the obstacles that prevent women from fully embodying it. The chapter centers on the notion that overthinking is one of the biggest enemies of confidence. Women, the authors argue, often fall into patterns of overanalyzing, overpreparing, and second-guessing their abilities, leading to hesitation, inaction, and lost opportunities. At the heart of the chapter is a call to action. Confidence comes from doing, not from thinking. While reflection and analysis have their place, excessive rumination can paralyze rather than empower. The authors use examples from neuroscience, behavioral psychology, and real-world interviews to demonstrate how action creates momentum, and how taking action, even without full certainty, strengthens self-assurance over time. One of the first concepts introduced is the confidence gap, the idea that women generally perceive themselves as less competent than they actually are. Men, on the other hand, tend to overestimate their abilities. This confidence disparity isn't necessarily tied to actual performance, it's rooted in how men and women internalize doubt. Where men may feel a moment of uncertainty and move past it quickly, women tend to dwell, analyze, and question. This tendency often leads to inaction or delayed decisions. Kay and Shipman explain how biological factors like hormones, especially cortisol and serotonin, can contribute to differences in stress response and decision-making, but they emphasize that biology isn't destiny. The more important variable, they argue, is behavior. Women who train themselves to act decisively, despite self-doubt, are able to rewire their mental patterns. Confidence is like a muscle, it grows stronger with repeated use. The chapter features insights from elite athletes, military leaders, and business executives, all of whom emphasize a common trait among the confident: they don't wait to feel ready, they act. The authors use the example of women in the military who are taught to make split-second decisions under pressure. In that environment, hesitation can be fatal. Over time, women in high-stakes roles learn to suppress the urge to overthink and instead rely on training, instinct, and experience. One standout interview is with a woman who climbed the corporate ranks at a Fortune 500 company. She reveals that she often felt unprepared in meetings or unsure about her proposals, but she forced herself to speak up anyway. Her takeaway: acting confident, even when you don't feel it, often leads to actual confidence. This is a key lesson of the chapter: confidence can come after action, not before it. To support this idea, Kay and Shipman also explore the science of self-efficacy, a term coined by psychologist Albert Bandura. Self-efficacy is the belief in one's ability to succeed in specific situations. It's closely tied to confidence but is built primarily through experience, through doing. The more you act, the more your brain learns to trust your own capability. This reinforces the author's central message: the pathway to confidence is paved with action, not perfection. The authors caution against the myth that confidence means never feeling doubt. Rather, confident people feel fear and uncertainty, but they move forward anyway. By taking action before they feel fully prepared, they build resilience and adapt more quickly to challenges. Kay and Shipman urge listeners to embrace imperfection, accept mistakes as part of growth, and trust that confidence will follow action. To help listeners apply the ideas in practical terms, the chapter ends with several actionable suggestions. Say yes before you're ready. Opportunities often come before you feel fully qualified. Seize them anyway. Stop over-preparing. Preparation is important, but there is a point of diminishing returns. Learn to recognize it. Interrupt the rumination loop. When you catch yourself overthinking, shift your focus to doing something, anything. Use power poses or confident body language. Your posture can influence your mindset, sending signals to your brain that you're in control. Reframe mistakes. Rather than viewing missteps as failures, see them as stepping stones to growth and learning. Chapter 3, Wired for Confidence. In Chapter 3, titled Wired for Confidence, Katty K. and Claire Shipman explore the biological and neurological foundations of confidence, examining whether confidence is something we are born with or something we can learn. The chapter blends science with storytelling to unpack how our brains are wired, or can be rewired, for confidence. Nature versus nurture. Is confidence innate? The authors begin by questioning a long-standing debate: is confidence a product of nature or nurture? Scientific research suggests the answer is both. There are genetic components that influence traits like extroversion, risk tolerance, and optimism, all of which can contribute to natural confidence. For instance, researchers have identified specific gene variants that affect dopamine and serotonin levels, which in turn influence how we handle stress and rewards. However, Kay and Shipman emphasize that biology is not destiny. Even if some individuals are born with a predisposition toward higher confidence, our brains are remarkably plastic, meaning they can change and adapt. Neuroplasticity allows us to reshape our thought patterns and behaviors through practice and repetition. This offers hope and agency to those who feel chronically underconfident. How confidence works in the brain. The chapter takes a fascinating dive into how confidence operates neurologically. One of the key findings involves the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for decision-making and self-regulation. Confident people tend to show greater activation in this area when making choices or facing uncertainty. They are more likely to trust their instincts and make decisions without becoming paralyzed by self-doubt. The authors also explore the amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm system. In situations of stress or fear, an overactive amygdala can trigger avoidance behaviors and negative self-talk. Women, on average, show greater amygdala activity in response to social threats, which may partially explain why they are more prone to anxiety and self-doubt. The role of hormones. Kay and Shipman further discuss how hormones like cortisol, the stress hormone, and testosterone, linked to confidence and assertiveness, play roles in our feelings of self-assurance. Men typically have higher levels of testosterone, which is correlated with risk-taking and decisiveness, traits associated with confidence. But again, the takeaway isn't that women are biologically less confident, rather, it's that confidence is influenced by a range of factors that we can work with and around. One experiment they highlight shows that testosterone levels rise after a person adopts a power pose, standing or sitting in a way that exudes dominance. Women who practiced power poses for even just 2 minutes reported increased feelings of confidence. This illustrates that even physical behavior can send signals to the brain that alter its chemistry in real time. Genetics are just the starting line. In interviews with neuroscientists and psychologists, the authors reinforce that while genes may set a baseline, our experiences, environment, and daily choices ultimately determine our confidence levels. What matters most is how we train our brains through consistent action, reflection, and adaptation. They also reference studies on identical twins that show confidence levels can diverge significantly based on life experience. One twin might be more confident not because of superior genetics, but because she faced more challenges, took more risks, or received more support and encouragement growing up. Practical implications for building confidence. Kay and Shipman argue that understanding how our brains are wired for, or against, confidence gives us the blueprint for change. Knowing that confidence is not fixed but flexible empowers women to take control of their development. They offer several practical suggestions. Challenge your thinking patterns. Recognize when you're falling into negative self-talk and replace it with realistic, supportive thoughts. Take small, repeated actions. These create new neural pathways that reinforce confidence over time. Use your body to train your brain. Practice confident posture and breathing, especially before stressful situations. Accept discomfort as part of growth. Building new brain patterns is challenging, but every time you take a step outside your comfort zone, you're rewiring for courage. Chapter 4: Dumb Ugly Bitches and Other Reasons Women Have Less Confidence. In Chapter 4, provocatively titled Dumb Ugly Bitches and Other Reasons Women Have Less Confidence, Katty K. and Claire Shipman delve into the complex cultural and societal forces that undermine women's confidence, often in subtle but powerful ways. The title itself is drawn from a real-life example of online harassment, a stark reminder of the hostility women often face when they assert themselves publicly or professionally. This chapter investigates how external messages, media, social expectations, criticism, and implicit bias chip away at women's self-assurance from an early age. The cultural undermining of confidence. The authors begin by spotlighting how society judges confident women differently from confident men. While assertiveness is praised in men as a sign of strength and leadership, women who exhibit the same behaviors are often labeled aggressive, bossy, or worse. This double standard creates a confidence dilemma: be bold and risk being disliked, or stay quiet and be overlooked. The chapter introduces compelling research that shows girls are socialized from a young age to be agreeable, quiet, and accommodating, while boys are encouraged to take risks, speak up, and assert themselves. Girls are often praised for being good and polite, while boys receive more recognition for initiative and leadership. This difference in upbringing gradually feeds into the adult gender gap in confidence, especially in competitive or high-stakes environments. The media's role. Kay and Shipman address the damaging role of media and representation, particularly in how women's appearances are scrutinized. Media tends to emphasize how women look far more than what they say or do, reinforcing the idea that appearance is central to a woman's value. The authors point out that this overemphasis can deeply affect confidence by making women hyper-aware of their physical selves, often at the cost of their inner worth or intellectual strength. They also highlight the hostile nature of online spaces. Women who step into public debates, especially in politics, journalism, or tech, are frequently subjected to online trolling, sexist attacks, and verbal abuse. The real-life example in the chapter's title refers to one such instance, illustrating how criticism for women often turns deeply personal and dehumanizing. Such attacks don't just hurt feelings, they train women to self-censor, doubt themselves, or avoid visibility altogether. The psychological toll of being belittled, mocked, or judged for having a voice leads many women to hold back, stay small, or aim for perfection before speaking up. Internalizing criticism. An important focus of the chapter is the way women tend to internalize criticism. Instead of brushing it off, many women absorb negative feedback and replay it over and over in their minds, leading to rumination and loss of confidence. Men, by contrast, are more likely to externalize blame or recover quickly from rejection. Kay and Shipman also cite studies showing that women often feel the need to be liked more strongly than men do, and this desire for approval can lead them to silence themselves. The authors argue that confidence and likability can sometimes be in conflict for women, forcing difficult trade-offs in professional and social situations. Perfectionism as a barrier. The authors revisit the issue of perfectionism, identifying it as a recurring theme in women's lives. Perfectionism often masks a fear of failure or judgment, and it leads women to over-prepare, overthink, and hesitate to take action. The result is a pattern of missed opportunities and reinforced self-doubt. While men might take the ready, fire, aim approach, women often default to ready, aim, aim, aim. This cautiousness is understandable, given the harsh penalties women face for failure or for appearing too confident. But Kay and Shipman argue that in today's fast-paced, risk-reward world, confidence often matters more than competence, a reality that women must learn to navigate strategically. Breaking the cycle. Despite the cultural challenges, the authors are hopeful. They share examples of women who've learned to tune out critics, redefine failure, and step into leadership roles by embracing imperfection and resilience. Confidence, they argue, is not about being fearless or flawless. It's about moving forward in the face of criticism and refusing to be silenced by a system that rewards self-doubt in women. The chapter ends with actionable insights. Detach from criticism, not all feedback deserves space in your mind. Filter for value, not volume. Step into visibility, speak up even when it feels uncomfortable. Visibility is practice. Challenge the double standard, call it out when confidence is punished in women but praised in men. Redefine likability, it's okay not to be liked by everyone, especially if you're standing in your power. Chapter 5, The New Nurture. In Chapter 5, titled The New Nurture, Katty Kay and Claire Shipman shift the focus from external influences and biological factors to how confidence is shaped by our environment, especially upbringing, education, and family dynamics. They explore how women can change the confidence equation for the next generation by rethinking how we nurture children, particularly girls. This chapter argues that while genetics and culture play significant roles in the development of confidence, the way we are raised and taught can have an even more profound impact. In fact, confidence is cultivated through behavior, encouragement, and experience. And the earlier we begin this cultivation, the better. Rethinking parenting norms. Kay and Shipman begin by challenging traditional parenting approaches. They point out that girls are often raised to be careful, conscientious, and compliant, while boys are encouraged to take risks, get messy, and test boundaries. These patterns, while well-intentioned, can inadvertently condition girls to avoid failure and fear mistakes. In contrast, boys are more likely to experience trial and error learning from a young age. This kind of hands-on risk-taking develops confidence naturally, as boys get used to failure and learn that mistakes don't define them. Meanwhile, girls, praised for neatness and obedience, learn to associate success with perfection and fear the consequences of falling short. Kay and Shipman argue that these differences aren't about ability, but about how boys and girls are nurtured differently, often unconsciously. Parents and teachers might not realize it, but they are often more likely to intervene quickly when a girl struggles, while they let boys figure it out. This denies girls the chance to build resilience and inner belief. Teaching confidence through action. One of the central messages of this chapter is that confidence is learned through doing, not by simply being told we're good or capable. Confidence, they assert, must be earned through effort, challenge, and recovery from setbacks. When we swoop in too often to protect children, especially girls, from difficulty, we rob them of the experience that builds self-assurance. The authors explore examples of parents and educators who intentionally teach confidence by giving children more autonomy. For instance, they discuss schools where students are allowed to fail and retry, where mistakes are framed as necessary parts of learning. They highlight programs that encourage public speaking, leadership, and risk-taking for girls, all with the aim of creating confidence through practice, not praise. They emphasize that praise should focus on effort, not outcomes. When children are rewarded for perseverance and process rather than perfection, they are more likely to persist through difficulty and develop true confidence. The home as confidence classroom. Kay and Shipman offer concrete suggestions for cultivating a confidence-building environment at home. These include encouraging risk-taking, let kids try, fail, and try again without rescuing them immediately. Celebrating effort and resilience, focus on how they approached a problem, not just whether they succeeded. Challenging perfectionism, help kids understand that flaws and failures are normal and even valuable. Modeling confidence, parents who show their own learning curves and self-belief set a powerful example. They also discuss how gendered messages at home affect confidence. For example, girls who see their mothers defer to others or downplay their achievements might internalize those behaviors. By contrast, girls raised in households where both men and women express opinions, take initiative, and show vulnerability are more likely to emulate confident behavior themselves. Adult nurture, rewiring our own confidence. The concept of nurture isn't only about raising kids, it also applies to adults. The authors point out that we can re-nurture ourselves by intentionally placing ourselves in environments that support confidence building. This might mean seeking mentors or communities that uplift and challenge us, practicing self-compassion when we fail, taking on roles that stretch us outside our comfort zones. They cite neuroscience research that shows the brain's ability to rewire and change over time, even in adulthood. By deliberately creating confidence-building habits and experiences, we can essentially reparent ourselves toward greater self-assurance. Chapter 6: Failing Fast and Other Confidence-Boosting Habits. In Chapter 6, titled Failing Fast and Other Confidence-Boosting Habits, Katty and Claire Shipman explore practical, everyday behaviors that can significantly improve self-assurance, especially for women who struggle with self-doubt or perfectionism. This chapter is a toolkit of sorts, offering strategies grounded in psychology, neuroscience, and real-world stories to help develop a more confident mindset through action-oriented habits. The authors emphasize a central theme: confidence is a choice, built through repeated behavior, not born through wishful thinking. It's not about waiting to feel confident before acting, it's about acting to become confident. The power of failing fast. The chapter begins with the concept of failing fast, a term borrowed from Silicon Valley and entrepreneurship, where failure is not only accepted but embraced as a necessary part of innovation. Kay and Shipman argue that this mindset is particularly useful for women, who often fear failure because of social conditioning to be perfect, polite, or pleasing. They challenge the belief that failure is evidence of inadequacy. Instead, they frame failure as feedback, an opportunity to learn quickly, adjust, and move forward with more information and insight. The faster one is willing to fail, the faster one grows. This mindset liberates women from the paralysis of overthinking and overpreparing, two habits that commonly block confidence. Practice over perfection. Another habit discussed in this chapter is valuing progress over perfection. Kay and Shipman note that women often delay action because they don't feel fully ready, whether it's applying for a job, asking for a raise, or speaking up in meetings. This desire to feel 100% prepared can be a confidence killer. The authors encourage embracing the idea of good enough as a launching pad, emphasizing that taking imperfect action is better than inaction born from doubt. Over time, small steps lead to big shifts in how we see ourselves and our capabilities. Confidence comes from doing. One of the most powerful insights in this chapter is the idea that confidence grows through doing. While it may feel like we need confidence before taking bold steps, research and real-life examples show the opposite. By taking action, even scared or unsure, we build confidence with every effort. Kay and Shipman recommend starting with micro-actions. Speaking up in a small meeting. Taking on a project outside your comfort zone. Saying yes to an opportunity that feels intimidating. Each of these builds a memory bank of I did it moments that retrain the brain to associate risk with growth rather than fear. Habits that fuel confidence. In addition to failing fast and taking action, the authors identify specific habits that help boost confidence daily. Reframing negative self-talk, replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Avoiding comparison traps, social media and cultural messaging can distort how we see ourselves. Staying grounded in our own journey is key. Setting boundaries, confidence also grows by protecting your time and energy. Saying no respectfully can affirm self-worth. Physical posture and presence, standing tall, making eye contact, and using a confident tone can trick the brain into feeling more self-assured, even when we don't feel it inside. Confidence is a muscle. Throughout the chapter, Kay and Shipman compare confidence to a muscle, something that gets stronger with consistent exercise. Like physical fitness, building confidence requires effort, repetition, and a tolerance for discomfort. They highlight the value of feedback loops. When we take bold action, see results, and then are more likely to repeat that action. Confidence becomes self-sustaining once these loops take hold. Stories of confidence in practice. To illustrate these habits, the chapter shares stories from successful women across industries who embraced failure, pushed themselves into action, and learned to trust their abilities over time. Whether it's a politician making her first campaign speech or an entrepreneur pitching an idea, these women demonstrate that confidence was earned through behavior, not natural-born fearlessness. Chapter 7. Now, Pass It On. In Chapter 7, titled Now, Pass It On, Katty Kay and Claire Shipman close the confidence code with an empowering message. Confidence isn't just a personal journey, it's something meant to be shared, taught, and modeled for others, especially younger women and girls. This chapter is about spreading the confidence culture. The authors urge readers to use what they've learned to inspire others and help shift the broader societal norms that hold women back. The idea is that individual confidence can spark collective change, and that the real power of confidence lies in paying it forward. The responsibility of role models. Kay and Shipman begin by acknowledging that women who achieve self-assurance have a unique opportunity and responsibility to model it for others. Whether you're a leader in a company, a teacher, a parent, or just someone navigating daily life with growing confidence, your behavior influences others. They note that confidence is contagious. When women see others take risks, speak boldly, and own their success, they're more likely to do the same. This ripple effect is powerful, especially for girls and young women who are still forming their beliefs about what's possible. The chapter encourages women to be visible and vocal about their journeys. Sharing not only success but also the struggles and failures behind the scenes is crucial. By showing that confidence is earned, not inherited, others can see it as accessible and realistic. Changing the narrative for the next generation. A central theme in this chapter is the importance of changing how we talk to and raise girls. The authors revisit some ideas from earlier chapters, that girls are often taught to be careful, perfect, and polite, messages that can subtly undermine confidence. Now, they emphasize what adults can do differently to break that pattern. Suggestions include: praise effort over outcomes, focus on resilience, grit, and curiosity instead of flawless results. Encourage risk-taking, let girls try and fail without swooping in to rescue them. Model imperfection, show that it's okay not to have all the answers, and that learning is a lifelong process. Talk about confidence directly, help girls understand what it means, how it feels, and how to grow it. Kay and Shipman believe that confidence can and should be part of the curriculum, at home, in school, and in society. Building a confidence culture. The authors also look at what it means to build confidence at the organizational and cultural levels. They reflect on how workplaces, schools, and communities can support more women in stepping forward, contributing ideas, and rising into leadership. Key ideas include: mentorship, encouraging women to guide and uplift each other professionally and personally. Creating safe spaces for risk-taking, environments where mistakes are learning opportunities, not liabilities. Championing women's voices, actively inviting women into conversations and decisions, especially in male-dominated spaces. Kay and Shipman stress that confidence isn't about dominance or arrogance. It's about presence, belief, and agency. Creating cultures that celebrate and normalize those traits in women helps dismantle long-standing barriers. Real-life examples of passing it on. Throughout the chapter, the authors highlight inspiring women who are already living this mission: leaders, teachers, mentors, and mothers who consciously work to instill confidence in others. These women reflect a range of backgrounds, showing that confidence sharing isn't limited to corporate boardrooms. It's equally vital on playgrounds, in classrooms, and around dinner tables. You are the code. In wrapping up the book, Kay and Shipman return to a core message: confidence is a choice, a skill, and a responsibility. And once you've cracked the confidence code, the most meaningful thing you can do is help someone else crack it too. They invite readers to reflect on their own influence. Who looks to you for guidance? What message does your behavior send? How can you create space for others to grow? This final chapter is a call to action, a challenge to be a mentor, a supporter, a model of confidence in motion. Not only will this reinforce your own confidence, but it will help create a new generation of women who don't wait to be perfect to speak, act, and lead. Chapter 8: The Science and the Art. Chapter 8, The Science and the Art, serves as a reflective and integrative finale to the Confidence Code, blending the book's core scientific insights with the nuanced, lived experience of confidence as an art form. Katty Kay and Claire Shipman emphasize that confidence is both measurable and mysterious, grounded in biology yet shaped by culture and personal choice. Confidence, a dual nature. The authors begin by reaffirming the central thesis: confidence is a dynamic interplay between science and personal agency. On one side, it has clear biological underpinnings: brain chemistry, genetics, and hormones such as testosterone influence how confident we feel. On the other side, confidence is cultivated through behaviors, mindsets, and cultural messages that shape how we interpret ourselves and our abilities. This dual nature means that while we can't fully control the biological wiring, we can actively shape the art of confidence through practice, mindset, and action. Biology provides a foundation, not a fate. Kay and Shipman revisit key scientific findings from earlier chapters, such as the role of testosterone in boosting confidence by encouraging risk-taking and assertiveness, the impact of neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to change and grow with experience, allowing confidence to develop over time, how genetics contribute to temperament, but do not dictate destiny. They emphasize that biology provides a foundation, but environment and choice build the house. In other words, even if someone's natural baseline confidence is low, it can be strengthened through deliberate effort. Confidence as an art form. Moving beyond science, the authors explore the art of confidence, the subtle, situational, and relational aspects that can't be easily quantified. They note that confidence involves reading social cues and adapting accordingly, balancing humility and self-assurance to be authentic and persuasive, tuning into emotions and managing internal narratives, taking creative risks and innovating in how we present ourselves. This artistic side of confidence requires intuition, emotional intelligence, and personal style. It's not about faking it but about embodying a confident presence that feels genuine. The role of culture and environment. The chapter also discusses how cultural contexts shape confidence expression. For example, societies valuing collectivism may encourage modesty over overt self-promotion. Gender norms and expectations still influence how women display confidence. Recognizing these cultural factors helps women navigate environments that may not fully support confident behavior and gives insight into why confidence looks different across contexts. Confidence as a lifelong journey. Kay and Shipman highlight that confidence is not a fixed trait, but an ongoing process. It fluctuates with experience, context, and life changes. Instead of seeing confidence as something to achieve once and for all, it's more useful to view it as a skill that requires continual tuning and practice. The authors encourage embracing imperfection and vulnerability as part of that journey, knowing that moments of doubt and failure are normal and often necessary for growth. Practical implications. To close, the chapter offers some practical takeaways. Leverage scientific insights, e.g., power posing or embracing small risks, to boost confidence. Cultivate awareness of your personal confidence style. Embrace confidence as both a mindset and a performance, adapting to different situations. Share confidence with others to build collective empowerment. Chapter 8 leaves readers with a balanced, hopeful perspective. Confidence is both science and art, rooted in biology yet brought to life through personal choice and cultural context. While some aspects may be innate, most can be developed and refined. By understanding both the science and the art of confidence, women can take intentional steps toward becoming the confident leaders, creators, and changemakers they aspire to be. The chapter, and the book, closes on an empowering note. Confidence is not a mystery, but a practice, and it's within every woman's reach to master it. In the conclusion, Kay and Shipman reinforce the central message of the book: confidence is a choice and a skill that women can build through intentional practice. They remind readers that while biological factors like hormones and genetics play a role, the bigger determinants of confidence are mindset, behavior, and culture. The authors urge women to embrace imperfection, take risks, and redefine failure as a learning opportunity. They emphasize that confidence is not about being perfect or always succeeding, it's about showing up, trying, and persisting even when the odds feel uncertain. The conclusion also circles back to the importance of passing on confidence to others, especially to younger women and girls, to create a ripple effect that can change cultural norms and close gender gaps in leadership and opportunity. Ultimately, the Confidence Code leaves readers with a hopeful and empowering call to action. Confidence is within reach for every woman, through understanding the science, embracing the art, and choosing to act. By doing so, women can build the lives and careers they dream of and help foster a more equitable world.